I can't find that Excalibur.
It's in the Notion
That's it.
like meeting thing. Yeah.
I forgot to
I'm
install
training
Notion on
myself
this computer.
to know where things are now. Slow going.
Tony, did you notice? So I think I saw that you looked at the Notion doc for yesterday's meeting.
Yep.
And you did that without us telling you to do that, right? You just found it in the calendar invite. Was it useful?
I didn't actually read it. I just opened it.
Close. We got close. He knew how to get there. Thank you for being honest. Yep. No, didn't read it.
Didn't read it. My eyes saw the content, but my brain didn't. So
Braden was like Disney World.
That's when I open a menu at a restaurant. I just see shapes. Don't actually read the words on a menu.
Yep. This is why vegetarianism works. Because like it's a force function on like it. I don't know what any of this is, but vegetables. All right, I can eat that.
Makes it so easy.
Okay, so yeah. Anyways, we can talk about the calendar and thing. I think there's a stance or whatever. I'm trying to train. I just open it before every meeting now, and then it doesn't look like anything. And I tried to read it, but I'm already in the meeting. So
that's basically what happened. Yeah, I wasn't lost in the meeting, so I didn't have to look at the doc to be like, what's going on? I actually did read the first line, and then we started talking about the first line, and then I stopped reading it. Well, I was like, okay, I guess we're just doing what's on this.
Kristen, I looked this information, but forgot that I didn't have Notion on this computer. I'm using Kim's laptop. So I was seeking what Notion was supposed to give me, but I just did not have my environment configured for it. So
this is great.
We have some human failings and some technical failings. That's what we're working with.
That one's pure human. I'll claim that. I'll claim that one.
I mean, we're working on one project right now and very closely. So this kind of like, it's not really necessary, but in the future, I mean, I'm just getting in the practice of doing it.
No, I love how aware you are. It's like, it's good to see someone's like paying attention.
Okay. So I am curious about how you open it up. So I don't know. We were talking about, so we had the encryption stuff that we were setting aside. Oh, we were going to look at the code base.
This is in the Notion doc, just FYI.
Yeah. It says we're looking at the code base first.
There we go. We made that, a previous us decided that was a great idea. So let's listen to them.
Yeah. Great.
I feel like the joke of the guy that like says that like he just throws his laundry on the ground and like, look, it magically cleans itself. That's how I feel about these notes. I'm like, these notes are magically here. We know what to do.
We literally did this yesterday. I just put it on a piece of paper. The whole point of this too is so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Do
be like, wait.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're learning how to work with ourselves.
Yeah.
Through time.
Oh, there's the Excalibur right there. That's perfect.
Right in the pre-sesh.
Got there.
All right.
Yeah, so CJ was the one who had let's review the code base, look at what we have now and generally what we're trying to accomplish. So cue CJ.
Oh. The system works.
I saw a hand from Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick before she gets into it. The Excalibur link is to like, just like the scratchy stuff. Not John's work. Oh no, I didn't scroll over. Oh, sorry, never mind. I'm done.
Good job, Jordan. We're doing great today.
Got it. I'm good. It's all there. I'm good. Never mind. I didn't scroll far enough away from it.
In the reactions, can we talk real quick about how there's a speed up?
Oh, that's what your little thing is.
Good.
Wait, how do you do that anyway?
Anyway, let's not get too distracted.
This meeting is taking too long. Go faster.
It's so gnarly. Just
Welcome
like,
to corporate
all right.
CJ, hurry up.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Whatever it is, do it faster.
Not no faster.
I'm gonna write notes in the code.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Writing notes in the code, like
Instance. We have a prompt. We have a prompt response, which is responding to a prompt, which is part of a prompt instance, question mark. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like these are basically the three things as far as I can tell. We have a prompty like instance kind of doodad. We have a prompt and a prompt response. I don't know how much more complicated it is than that. The only thing that like I think looking at this code base quickly is like the prompt response needs to know which prompt it's attached to in order to check like basically some facets about it, like if it's already ended kind of a deal, or if you've already responded, and we can take that out because I think it's just a possibility of something that we could do, or add like edit response if we want to have that functionality in there too. So I think right now this is structured in a way where it's like directly tied into the prompts from the ID, which is really easy, I guess. I don't know if that's something we want to continue with or not. I mean, it might kind of box us in a little bit, but I don't know. I'd be curious to hear like what Tony or John think.
To be clear, the inverse, or just like one alternative shape here, is more to say that just like map them by IDs. Like this response object is responding to that prompt ID exclusively, instead of like kind of nesting them.
I guess maybe. I guess it's trying to like keep them or like make them feel a little bit more separate in some way, which I don't know if actually makes sense for this application, because they are kind of like tied together.
Yeah, I guess like the one thing that this might affect is like being able to respond to a prompt with a prompt, and like if the schema is flexible enough, then that might be possible, but I don't think we really need to worry about that.
Sure.
How do you think we would, well, so for starters, I don't see the prompt instance has like allowed respondees tied to it.
Yeah, so we don't have that currently. So let me kind of start making. Oh my God, starting to write a contract.
Eager beaver, code pilot.
Yeah, it's sometimes like almost aggressive. Like I'm just like,
yeah,
slow down a little bit, please.
Happening. And nothing. I need to struct probably something like this. And then I guess the instance probably has a name too. I guess I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just gonna like. It has an address. No, it has a uint256, which is, I guess it's ID. It has a string, which is its name. And it has allowed responders, which is going to be a mapping from address to pool, I guess, is probably the best way to do that.
Is there a difference from doing that as an array?
It's that when someone responds, you can directly look them up in the mapping and see if they're allowed to respond.
So the default value
as opposed to searching an array. Yeah, default value is false. Basically, like when someone say like we have like I guess in the create instead, probably you also have like UN256 instance ID or something like this. And one thing you want to check is if message.sender, if allowed responders, this is still a little pseudocode, but if allowed responders is false, then not allowed.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think for that logic, that makes sense. But I think from John's point, you probably need an array to surface the list in the UI somewhere. So you would probably need both.
So I think the way of doing that is, okay, maybe I should actually contract instance for now.
Or is that something you can do with the graph?
I was thinking of doing it with events instead of adding like essentially like extra storage. Is we have an event which is responder added, and then this is like an address.
Got it. Yeah.
And then like we probably have a constructor which is address array memory allowed responder string memory name. It basically did it, and then instead of doing that, we'll do for I equals 0, I is less than. Yeah, that looks right, more or less. And,
that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I add this struct in, and I guess the only other thing that we have to do is, I guess this isn't a constructor because that's going to be its own function. It'll be function create instance. And the same thing. Hopefully, just copy this.
Yeah, and pass in like the name and all the other stuff.
Right, and then this will be a UN250 mapping UN256 to Prompty instance, which is instances. I guess this can be the public mapping. Mapping public. And I think probably we have another event which is like instance created. ID name.
Yeah, they probably Okay.
I don't even know if name is really, it doesn't really matter, I don't think. I guess it's probably a good thing to do. And then 256 instance. And then this is all this code that it wrote, more or less. And instead, we'll say, oops, let's do the last thing first so we make sure we get it right. Let's do this plus, and we can do this unchecked. And then we'll get the instance, which will be a Prompty instance storage instance equals instances instance count. That looks right. And then instance.man equals man. That's like more or less.
How does that first line work? The line 26.
This?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have it created yet, right? So.
Well, so basically, as far as I'm aware of what happens, I think I did something like this in. Let's see. Maybe this. I've done this somewhere recently. I don't know where I did this. Basically, like
it gives you a nulled out instance.
It gives you a memory address effectively, and you're just filling in that memory address, and it knows like how big that should be in the EVM, and then you're just filling in the data. It's all set to null values or garbage values or whatever. Initially. It should be all null instantiated.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, why would you do that versus using a Prompty instance constructor inline there and filling in all the information?
I think with storage you can't do it inline. You could do it in memory. It's like this. It's like a weird thing.
Oh, you're saying storage versus memory. I see.
Yeah, when you do it in memory, it's a little bit different because you're just kind of doing it within the body of the function versus storage. You're saying like, okay, like look out to, you have to do this for structs for whatever reason. Of course, for like instance count, I didn't have to do anything special, but since it's in a struct and this mapping is in a struct as well, like I think you have to use storage. Otherwise, you can't instantiate a mapping inside of a storage struct, like just by default, as far as I'm concerned. I tried to do this before. I forget exactly the like logic behind it. I don't know where I did this.
I guess what I'm thinking is potentially you could do like almost the opposite of what you're doing there, where you would do instances, instance count equals a Prompty instance constructor, and then that.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I think like I've gone through this before, and now I remember like where it is, and like I was really struggling with this because it throws a compile error. Basically, is what happens is if you try to do that. And because I did something similar for like, this is what I'm like considering as rlog currently. And I have just like this mapping. And initially, like I did the same thing. I said, okay, post storage comment equals the like comment struct, and then try to initialize it here, right?
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you would do
comments comment ID.
Yeah.
At least, like basically the problem with this is because we have like here a mapping inside of it, like the compiler doesn't know, like you can't instantiate a mapping inside of the constructor for the Prompty instance.
Because you're saying because it's inside of a Prompty instance struct. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the reason. Otherwise, it would be possible. But because of this mapping, you have to do it directly from this. You have to basically get the reference to the storage address. Is basically like if you're looking at C, that's kind of what's happening. Is like you're getting the reference to it and then setting the values inside of the reference. Instead of like creating a new memory object and then saying this memory object belongs in that reference. I think it just has to do with how mappings are stored in the EVM. But I don't know why exactly. I just remember like I've gone through this problem before, so I just wrote it this way.
But if you didn't have the allowed responders mapping in Prompty instance, you could do it the other way.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, like there could be another way of doing this. I just like throwing things in structs because it makes more like logical sense to me. But we could do like UN256 to address to allowed responders, which would also solve the problem.
Yeah, but it's not as nice.
Yeah, I just like structs. It kind of keeps things a little bit more contained than like anytime like you have the same ID pointing to the same like things. I just like always want to throw it in a struct. Plus, you can like pack it for gas and stuff too.
What does unchecked the wrapping instance count on line 35 do?
I think by default, like Solidity does a check to make sure that you don't like overflow a UN256. I think the idea here is that you're probably never going to overflow a UN256 in this. You know, like ideally, unless you like just literally like spammed it forever.
Right. So it is more of like a gas optimization thing.
It's a small gas optimization.
Yep.
Yeah. It really shouldn't matter here. I've gotten used to it when I like throw pluses in there. This is just especially when it's just for a monotonical increasing counter to just do it unchecked.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah, like so I guess we've like basically written all this code. I think the thing with this is, so I can see this either being like 3 contracts or 1. Like basically instead of having this Prompty instance, like I just drop all of this code into Prompty, like what we have here. Like I could do this and like effectively it's the same. And then now when we do create instance ID, we're referring to memory inside of the same contract. So it's a little easier. Otherwise, we'd have to call another contract, its address, to get the information we wanted, and then get that information back out. This is like the more basic, simple thing, I think, and it's probably good enough.
Yeah, that my gut is that keeping them together is not bad because they're not modifiable anyway. So it's kind of like whatever structure we choose, we're going, like, we can't really change it after the fact anyway. So if it's kind of like a prototype to test these data models next to each other, it does sound like it might make it a little simpler without the cross chain or cross contract stuff.
Yeah, I think the cross contract stuff adds complexity, and I don't know if it adds anything particularly useful for us here.
Right, like where it would be useful is if somebody else came along with their own Prompty contract and wanted to like tie into the Prompty instances contract, but like that just doesn't seem very likely in the short term.
Wow. Okay, well, it wrote the whole thing, so that's great. Okay, well, if this is good enough, I don't know. I don't know how much like really more there is to do other than like this is the code and we can update the graph more or less, and probably like clean some of it up. Tony, if you have anything, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, so I guess really the question is around like sort of trying to future-proof it and trying to think through what we might do with prompties in the future and whether this would support that.
Right. My gut feeling on that is unless we're messing with any of the base prompty logic, is we can effectively add anything on top of it later on by just deploying a new contract and basically having like the instance ID, the prompt ID, or the prompt response ID. Like as long as you have like those three things, depending on like which one you're operating with, you can always just emit a new event on top of it, and then the graph interacts with that. So like this maybe gets like slightly complex on the front end because like now, or basically like you write a wrapper in front of Prompty, which is like, if you want to add information to it, is you make one contract call into that emits an event, and then it ends up calling into the real Prompty contract with the data, and that emits its own events, kind of a thing too. Just to like keep kind of. Yeah, it's more just to like keep the front end clean, so you're not doing two transactions from like the person doesn't have to click two things. Is just bundling those transactions through a contract effectively.
Right. I almost feel like it could make sense to deploy like a really lightweight wrapper contract that is upgradable, that is in charge of, like, for example, we launch that and this contract and we add this address to that contract, and basically there's a Prompty API that contract will read, and that way there's like a static address for prompties like forever, because as new prompties get at, like if we added new functionality, we can upgrade the API on that contract, the wrapper one, and the Prompty address will stay the same. That way we can sort of separate most of the logic from this upgradable contract, and it's just like a API essentially.
Yeah, like this is basically the like upgradable metadata pattern.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess like this file maybe is called something else, because like I guess it's like more a Prompty instance and or whatever we can call it, like
yeah,
or something. I don't know. Let's just copy the whole thing because I'll just delete all of it. That's just gonna be there. That's just gonna be there. And then it has, we basically have. I guess the only thing with this is our API into Prompty will need to be stable.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing with this.
This could manage the API itself. The Prompty manager can. And
how is that?
Well, so basically you would define the API schema in this contract. And then when you upgrade it, you can essentially add to that schema without like being destructive. So essentially new versions of the Prompty logic would have to adhere to that. Then that kind of gets into a situation.
It's like the original schema. It has to conform to whatever schema is defined in this contract, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So the original one, and then when you have a new version, it has to support. Well, it doesn't have to.
So
but it would have new functionality that would be.
Yeah,
that would be added onto this, but the old version would still work.
It's like the same function calls are here. It's just different code is inside of these function calls.
Yeah, correct? And you can add new functions as well.
Right. Well, that's the part that I don't think is true.
No, it's true.
Unless you like leave just a generic like function selector, basically. Like you just have an arbitrary like call and then like function selector here that you can pass in.
If you make this contract upgradable, you can add new functions to it.
So you're saying two levels of upgradability is upgrading Prompty and upgrading Prompty Manager.
I'm saying upgrading Prompty Manager and deploying new versions of Prompty. So each new version of Prompty could be static. It doesn't have to be upgradable.
So I guess with this, my question is like, is this necessary? Because we can basically do this all in the graph. If we really want to upgrade Prompty, we basically just deprecate the old versions, which would still be the same here. We keep the old contract in the subgraph, and then we just add another contract into the same subgraph, and then we have all the same data. And then we don't have to worry about like a proxy upgradable kind of like pattern.
Right. The only question around that is as far as third-party clients, if we wanted them to function and point to a single contract as a source of truth, would that work with the graph with new deployments? So like if we upgraded Prompty.
I mean, that's the same question as if you're upgrading the API and you're changing functions, then the person who is calling out to that also has to basically support that, regardless of if it's a source of truth.
That only depends if we make a breaking change. But we could, for example, as a rule say, okay, if we're going to upgrade it, we're still going to support these base APIs that all the clients are already using. So it will just continue to work for them. But now there's new functionality that new clients can plug into.
Yeah, so what I'd say is like, it's not like we upgrade the Prompty Manager. It's really the Prompty Manager has a static API. And I say like, because like if we keep it as a static API, like when we release a breaking change, it means we're deploying new contracts no matter what. And like that's effectively the same of like what we're doing, like we could do anyhow. So like I agree with the source of truth. It's just like, let's nail down that interface, keep that interface constant for anything that we're going to do like in the near term future. Is if we do want to upgrade the logic inside of Prompty, that's like totally fine. But I think if we're going to add new functionality in terms of new functions, is like, that's a breaking change anyhow. Like I don't think we need to cover that here. Like, I think it's an extra layer in the contracts that can be completely handled by the graph. And I don't think it adds any on-chain like benefit as far as I can tell, because like the people who have already deployed code, they can still use the latest instance, but they're not going to get any of the new functionality anyhow, at least as far as I can see. And I also I guess this is so experimental that I think maybe adding in like all this extra logic to maintain and like complex deploy scripts and things like this is like, for the most part, I think it's just going to be us still playing around with this for a little bit. That I don't know. I think like the base upgradable pattern is like probably good enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think just adding a base upgradable pattern to this contract would just solve the problem, because it would be something we can easily just upgrade ourselves and we wouldn't have to break anything.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because this would become like iPrompty, right? And then we would basically stick all the functions from here into that. And then here we say, you know, address like Prompty equals, you know, whatever iPrompty.
Right.
And then we can have, you know, like return, you know, a function that's, I guess this is public anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So it'd be like function update Prompty.
Right.
And then a constructor with address Prompty, and then whatever. This is that. And I guess this is not an address. This is and then I guess this probably would be is ownable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just wrap those in iPrompties.
And then whatever.
I just really like that there's a loud mom in the background, and I like can't hear anything she's saying, but I'm like, it sounds like a loud mom, and then I heard "get over here," and I was like, it's a mom. And there's like a tone of it.
These structs and everything can be pulled out.
Why iPrompty?
Interface prompting.
Yeah.
All these things will stay.
The interface defines the functions that Prompty has. So potentially new contracts that want to use Prompty can import iPrompty, and then they theoretically will support all the functionality that the Prompty contract has.
Got it. So it's the type of front end. Interesting.
Yeah, so I guess it's like how I would think about this is from like my side is just giving people a surface they know is static and that they can deal with if they want to. Yes, this is what it looks like. And since we don't have an additional mapping for the prompt ID, I think that's still okay. Do we have a prompt created event? Oh, it's a huge one. That's what happened. I guess this means in 256 instance. Yeah, that shouldn't be accurate.
Does the responder added event need the instance ID as well for the graph?
It does.
28.
What's this there? This gets solved. Way. Hopefully.
Oh, it's able to auto extract the events from the import.
Yeah, that's why this is, well, because it's the interface. So it's like now that Prompty is conforming to the interface, it's like basically like saying like all of that code like knows how to talk to each other.
Nice.
So I mean, more or less, I feel like this is the surface area to instance responder. Only to be input, that's true. And respond. I don't know if respond really needs the instance ID. It doesn't really do anything for respond. So.
All right, because it's just adding it to the giant mapping of prompt responses.
Yeah. That's optional. Maybe because I didn't say or something. Oh, what was the problem? It's okay, we can fix that. I don't, this is just the language so the messing up. This one I do need to figure out. I don't know what I need to install. Still doesn't like it. doesn't like my file. There.
This might be the different file path.
That's all. Prompty.t. Okay. Where's it? I guess this whole thing is broken up. Allowed responders is whatever. I'm just gonna throw my address in there. I have to instantiate the story, don't I? Okay, let's see. Maybe it's fine. Test. I also don't think it's gonna like that. And then this means the ID will be 0. And then this is, I need to input icon YouTube, I think.
You probably want to be interfacing with the Prompty manager.
Yeah, for now I just want to make sure that the like normal code compiles. Another create. Where is it? That's all 42. Yeah, that's what it's not gonna like. Okay. String. I don't know the syntax for this. Can I do that? Does it like that? Does it let me do that? Actually, let's do this instead. Respond to first. Hopefully it likes that. Then it's not going to want the other one. Still does not like it. Allowed responders. I forgot to copy this. Push. It does not like push. So annoying. I remember the syntax for this always annoys me so much. I don't know if I can do this easily. I forget what it is for arrays. It's hard to do in Solidity, I remember. Or you have to give it a specific size or something weird. And I called it string, which is the address. Okay, works. Great. Okay.
So,
At least all of the, I just wanted to make sure that like everything compiles at some basic level. Because at least like this should form, I guess, a good base for everything. Like, yeah, I mean, this is the test file, and it'd probably be good to add the Prompty manager here as well. But I don't know if we want to do that on this call in particular, or that can be saved for another time.
yeah, I don't see the need for that.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Subgraph time.
Say that again.
Subgraph time. Or do you mean in the Prompty manager / Prompty like relationship?
I just meant, yeah, like in general, like we can definitely do the subgraph too. Which should be pretty simple, hopefully.
Yeah, I think, yeah, let's do that, because I do think it'd be a good exercise to like go through the data, but maybe we should do that more in depth later. Yeah.
Wallet, I guess. I think it requires it to be instantiated like that. I guess that's probably okay. And then this would have prompts. And then I always forget about how this works. I don't think I'm going to be prompt ID, do I? This is just the prompt. This is derived from. Okay. I don't know how I do this. I think this is. It's derived from field prompt on response. That's how it works. So this is derived from field prompt, but from instance. Does this work? This is actually wrong. This is instance. Instance. And this should be prompts derived from field instance. That makes more sense.
That's making some sense, yeah.
Prompts created, you can just shove the ID in here directly and it got it. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay. And I will pull. Hopefully the interfaces make this okay. Oh yeah, looks okay. Yeah. So I'm copying the ABI into here instead to make sure we get everything new. And I guess we can copy this later, but we have a couple new events, which is, I don't know. It's so hard to hear without my other headphones. Also, this is same things. Totally. Responder added. Instance created. And prompts created. I think it's huge. It's crazy. This is another 256. So now I need to do responder added and instance. I'm just going to copy these into real quick. Making life easy. And then that. That. And then the handler will be handle. Mapping really simple. Instance equals need to generate the thing. Doesn't like something. Prompt created. The other ones need to be updated as well. That's what's happening. I'll just copy the whole blob. It doesn't like something, but who knows what happened. This is crazy. Instance created, not present. That's surprising. Is instance created? Inputs. That's no that. Inputs U256 string.
Yeah, matches.
256 string. Subverse thematic. Seems like it's still the same. Did I mess something up? It doesn't like either of them.
I mean, there's semicolons on 26. It's not on the others. Don't think that's it though.
Yeah, that's probably an issue. It's also telling me exactly what I need to do to fix the images. Okay, yeah, I'm not surprised about that. Fix that. Let's inside of here as well. I think it might do the same thing with the prompt. Really, I think I wanted to do it. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted. Technically, I guess there could be 0 allowed responders. It's like
but you pass one in the constructor, right? Isn't it required there?
Technically, it could be an empty list.
Yeah, I mean that would be a handy shortcut to mean anyone can respond.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Okay. So I think that looks relatively good. The only thing here, okay, so we need to load the prompt instance from prompts instance dot load from event dot programs dot yep, that's exactly right. Instance equals, and I think it's not liking this because it's optional, and I think that's fine because if it fails, that's a problem. We should probably what? Oh, it doesn't even care. I don't have to do that. Amazing. I just have to do that, and then should be happy. Great. Handle, what did we call it? Instance created? Event. Instance created. Cool. Instance equals new let's now spell word ID is already there. Prompts should be derived from, so it shouldn't matter. So I can call it instance.save. And then export function handle. What is it called?
Response.
Handle responder added. That's not what we want. We want instance, and we're going to load that instance. Instance dot load instance ID thing, and let's do that because it shouldn't be null. And if it is null, then we have an issue. The only thing is prompt we need to make sure we emit events in the right order. And we'd never added the thing. So what we're going to do is emit an event here. Instance created. And then the graph should get the events in the right order, and the instance should always exist. Some stuff allowed responders. We have to do this as const. How do we do this? And then this is a let, it's called a let, or a bar. Might be create a wall here. Okay. String or no? Okay, I guess that makes sense. These are spawners. And then it should be fine. I don't know why it doesn't like this.
Because you can't do a push on null.
Yeah, but this shouldn't be null because I'm at least initializing it as the empty array.
Maybe allow responders. I see what you're saying.
Do we have a push in there? Okay. No. I thought we did something in KPC like this. Whoa. That must be what we did. Okay. So I'm going to copy this because this seems like the right thing to do. I think the only thing is here, we have to make sure that it gets initialized here. For instance, allows times That should that push. Hopefully that's what I wanted. Cool.
Let's see.
I don't know if there's anything
Pretty
else.
sick.
It builds. It's a good side.
I mean, like I can try to deploy the contracts. The only thing with that is like I would want to rewrite it to deploy in Forge as opposed to in Hard Hat, which is what we did previously. And that I don't know how to do off the top of my head. That might take a while.
Well,
You prefer Forge over Hard Hat, or you're just trying it out?
No, I prefer Forge over Hard Hat. And there's multiple ways to deploy with Forge too. You can do it with a shell script, or you can do it with a contract. And I think via the contract is kind of the right way to do it. Actually, I might have some code for this too. Honestly, I think I did some. What did I do? There it is. No, this is not the right one. Oops. Site demo. Scripts. Deploy RL. Okay. You have code. It's really simple. Oh, shit. Source. Scripts. That's all. I don't remember how this works. I know it works. We should install that. I'll have to write the mapping for it. Distance away. Some of that. One second. Figure it out. That one might be a problem. Yeah. I'm sure this is because that needs to be updated. We give it in the constructor type. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, I mean, more or less, I think this should be fine. I think it might not be happy with me somewhere, but I think more or less. Contract. Something like that. Like not like that. Give it a contract. Address should work. Right? What? An address doesn't work? Is it like this? Remember address not finding. Seriously?
Could there be like a delay that it's not accounting for?
I don't think so.
Yeah, do you have to deploy it to get the address?
I don't believe so.
Oh, because it's not deploying right now. We're just building it. Right?
Oh no, it is deploying it. But I think it waits.
What if it just log?
I know Sam King posted it initially, and he, I believe, referenced other things. Can I search just like from? Does this work? How does this work?
I think you want to type in S right after that. S, yeah. The search is so weird.
This is pretty old. I don't think it's this old. I don't think it's in dev. Maybe it's Solidity. This is it. Okay. Yeah, great. Deployer, blah, 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 gets a bunch of things. Deploy the metadata contract. Address of metadata. Oh my God. That's so sad. Why did I not think of that?
Is that a TypeScript thing or a Solidity thing?
Solidity. It's just it's typecasting. Cool. It works. Like theoretically, we could deploy. I don't remember how you actually deploy. I think Sam probably. Oh yeah, this is how you do it. I guess you still have to have a shell script. I just like the interface of deploying with a contract instead of a shell script. Script slash. And this is where you.
I think you might want to space after Prompty there. That might.
Yeah. Might be RPC URL, water private key. Seems fine. Just make sure that we have all of these things. Chain ID, this one. RPC URL, something. Private key, something. Interscale key. Something. What we did today, we added Prompty instance to the contract. We basically rewrote the whole thing. We added Prompty manager to keep track of the latest version of Prompty for everyone. We updated the subgraph for both of these things, and we deployed the contracts.
So we're basically set up to build out the front end for instances. Yep.
Yay! Fun.
Probably there's like a few like more small steps to do, like just upgrading the sub. Well, I guess we can. I don't want to do it yet because like if we upgrade the subgraph now, like it's gonna break all of the stuff that's already there. So it might be worth deploying like an entirely new subgraph if we want to still be working with this old instance for a while. Or if not, then we should try to like migrate from that. But that's like I guess a different question.
Cool.
But yeah, so contracts are up, I guess. I don't know.
Sweet.
Yeah, contracts are here. This is Prompty Manager. The other one is Prompty.
Right on.
It's Prompty.
It's Prompty time.
Not to be confused with
Prompty time on
promptly.
Polygon.
Promptly.
Not promptly.
I don't know how that meme got started.
I think it was
For some reason,
Somebody in death.
yeah.
Jamie.
It's mimetic though. Like people are like, "Oh, promptly," and I'm like,
Well, because
no.
the LY thing.
Yeah,
So
I mean the LY thing was like every
a thing."
during the Web 2 thing. Do your part by not repeating it. It's a meme spread.
It's so philosophically different too. Like we're not trying to get somewhere on time.
Nope.
We sure aren't doing that.
Fundamentally opposite.
No, man.
Go slow to go fast. Okay, cool. So yeah, what's sort of next from here, I guess? We front end stuff, we still wanted, I mean, I guess the future proofing that we were going to talk about is more or less, we're fine. We're going to keep experimenting with the architecture we've got. Like we've got enough room to snap on new things if we need to. So
yeah, I think it should be more or less fine. I'm not like super worried, at least personally, about like anything else. I think we can hack it together at this point. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine once we have a better idea of the kinds of things that people are asking for or the places that we're running into frictions, that conversation will sort of have itself.
I think the only thing that like if we were to add is the encryption stuff. But I wonder if that's like worth its own like side experiment, basically, in like a smaller form. Maybe not. I don't know. We already have all the Prompty stuff built, so it might be easy for that too.
Cool.
But I think that would probably require like another like set of contracts, probably again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what seems obvious next, I guess, is where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like we would want a subgraph instance first before we start getting at the front end, just so we can pull back data without trying to conform to the current one. But I do agree that it'd be nice to have like a parallel subgraph before, so we don't wipe the current one. But it's tied to repo, right? So there's only, you can only have one per.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Maybe it is. I'm not sure. I think you can just create a new name and have it be on the same repo.
Oh yeah. I think you'll have to give it a different unique name, but should work. Okay, so that'll be pretty simple when we get into the front end, I think.
Okay. Do you want to do another session there, and then? Yeah, I don't know.
I think that'll take like 15 minutes.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe we do like a UI, like front end session, and if anything comes up when we're doing that, technically we'll sort of, maybe we can go back and forth or just note what we need to tie in or bring forward from the back end.
Yeah, I think some of it we can probably do like kind of in parallel, like as
on
we're
the
getting
fly.
into it. Like I can like probably as we're talking, I can just like next time just like get a new subgraph instance up for this thing. It should like I said, take like 15 minutes, no more than that. Like maybe 5. I'm just getting a little tired.
No,
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, so I think the next time we can try to do one of these like hybrid ones where like Jordan, maybe you and I can like bang out UI and then we can just get it into the front end. If John or whoever wants to structure it, then we can see if that works. I don't know if, you know, yeah, because we need the like instance level like creation stuff, which is, I mean, it's just adding buttons here and then getting the settings in place, and then probably the new flow. So at the very least, we could dummy in all of those surfaces, and then figure out if we want to design how we want to handle the design. I mean, this is where I've been sort of, I think last time John and CJ like sort of got the stuff into code, and then I more or less just designed it in the editor. So with like small references in Figma. So I don't know. This one is, I guess, I don't know if you have a preference, Jordan.
No, honestly, like, I was wondering, like, I was taking all the stuff, John, we were sketching yesterday and just getting into Figma primitives. Like, cool. That's kind of what I was planning on doing for this afternoon. And then that might be, I mean, do you want to kind of like, I mean, I can set that kit up and then we can have that design session live with those kind of components, or
if you're down, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, totally. That's where I feel like I would fit in this process, and you asked me to. Yeah,
that'd be great. I mean, that would make everything go a lot faster.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Like I want to be able to just keep us moving on the stuff, and like I want to do the right work when we're away, but save the good work for together. So that seems like a good balance of that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because then we can base off that, and then that'll make the build go easier. Then we have stuff to reference, and then yeah, and then after commits, we can get that into code. And then it's possible that async, I can do code stuff, or Jordan, you and I can do it. We can see how that works.
I'd like to stick up with you about how you kind of approach that. I'm kind of curious about it. So
wow. Classes. So like, yeah.
It might be a good partnership between Jordan and Dave with code, because Dave's pretty instinctual, but then kind of gets stuck where he's like, wait, how do you do this? And Jordan's like, it's just like this.
We'll see.
Maybe.
With our
you might
minds
have a better
combined.
idea, technically where things plug in.
Yeah, I have a rough idea. I got a rough idea, and I've been playing with that checkout. I got with the React stuff a little bit, and
cool.
I don't know. I'm learning. I wouldn't say it's going good, but a little bit.
You're out ahead of me, so.
Yeah, React is a strange beast, so I hear.
Oh, it's space moon language, but it like works. I don't know.
Space moon language. I like it.
I was telling CJ, it's like I took like a month and a half or like 2 months to like learn enough C to be like, oh, I could like walk into JavaScript or like Java. I'm like, okay, I can kind of do this. And then React comes along, and I'm just like, man, this looks like Hex or something. I don't know.
You're casting spells all the time.
Dude. And then like it just destroys all this knowledge I thought I had about HTML, JavaScript, right? I'm like, oh, I can open an HTML file and do some stuff. I know JavaScript. And it's just like,
no, you can't.
Like, rethink what JavaScript means.
And then at the same time, I'll pick up a concept. I'm like, oh, I get why this is so sick. Like, torn between it's functionally, it's great. Like,
it's always what developers say.
Yeah, man, it's like everything I wanted. I just can't understand any of it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Like poking around at this, because like I'm still just sort of software decorating for the most part. Like any sort of structure.
Well, I mean, that's the right place to be right now, though. It's like this is the zone to be throwing stuff around like that.
Cool. All right. So next time, when's next time?
Yeah, when's next time?
Thursday.
CJ, pull up the map.
I think I'm gonna be here another night.
Bring up CJ's calendar. Open the map.